The Battle of Guantánamo Bay was fought from June 6 to June 10 in 1898, during the Spanish-American War, when American and Cuban forces seized the strategically and commercially important harbor of Guantánamo Bay, Cuba. Capturing the bay from the Spanish forces was instrumental in the following Battle of Santiago de Cuba and the subsequent invasion of Puerto Rico. Although overshadowed by the land and sea battles at Santiago, the establishment of the United States naval base at Guantánamo Bay and the rout of defending Spanish troops by American and Cuban forces was important in the final Spanish defeat. Background: Cuba had been in rebellion against Spain since 1895. Soon after the rebellion began, two insurgent leaders, José Martí and General Máximo Gómez, had landed at the beach of Callao between Guantánamo Bay and Cape Maysi, but after 3 years of fighting throughout the island, the rebels had only been successful in two provinces, Oriente and Camagüey. Following the explosion of the battleship Usmain in Havana Harbor in February 1898, the U.S. declared war on Spain in support of the Cuban insurgents. Havana Harbor was blockaded, and by the end of May the Spanish fleet was bottled up in Santiago Bay, 40 miles west of Guantánamo Bay, by Rear Admiral William T. Sampson. In the U.S., an Army Expeditionary Force was rapidly being readied at the same time for action in Cuba. Thus, America was allied with the Cuban insurgents. Guantánamo Bay had a measure of commercial importance because of the sugar port of Caimanera on the western shore of the inner bay, some 5 statute miles from the sea. Spanish positions. Despite the nominal offensive position of the insurgents in the vicinity of Guantánamo Bay, Spanish regulars and guerrillas held Guantánamo City, the port of Caimanera and the railroad connecting the two cities, the large sugar mills, and other outlying strong points. The Guantánamo garrison consisted of some 5,000 men under the command of General Félix Pareja. A Spanish blockhouse stood on the hill overlooking the village on Fisherman's Point near the entrance to the bay, and a fort on Cayo del Toro commanded the relatively narrow channel leading from outer to inner bay. The Spanish gunboat Sandoval was based at Caimanera on the inner bay, and a string of blockhouses defended the railroad to Guantánamo City, 14 miles inland. The Cuban insurgents maintained coastal outposts from the mouth of the Yturas River, east of the bay, to a point 15 miles west of Santiago, and were in undisputed possession of the western point at the entrance to the bay.